Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Steins 0. In the last episode, as Kaguri lay dying in his arms, Rintaro discovered something unusual about her. Something that Kaguri herself said not to show to Suzuha or Mayuri, which is why he acquiesced to leaving her helmet on. And the reason is this. It turns out on this worldline, Kaguri Shina underwent plastic surgery, specific plastic surgery to make her seem like somebody else. One of the members of the Future Gadget Laboratory, to be exact. To be even more exact, the 11th member of the Future Gadget Laboratory. None other than Yuki Amane herself. Which means that possibly at some point on this world line, or perhaps even more possibly the entirety of this particular world line, Yuki Amane has been outside of Japan and Europe, courtesy of Alexis Leskinen, by the way, who had helped Kaguri with her disguise. And Kaguri seems to have taken her place in her entire interactions with Daru. And neither Daru nor Suzuha nor anyone else was none the wiser, which means that it seems that together both Alexis Leskinen and Kaguri Shina not only did they fool Suzuha Amane, not only did they fool Itaru Hashira, not only did they fool the Future Gadget Laboratory members, but they also managed to fool the world line itself in this instance. Of course, there is one thing that I'm pretty sure that you're all scratching your heads over, and that's this little situation. When Kaguri was at the New Year's party on the alternate world line, that would mean that that scenario would ultimately make no sense, and you would be entirely 100% correct on that. But as I just said, that event happened on a completely different world line from this one. Shortly afterwards, Leskinen himself made his grand reappearance and stated that the truth behind his connection with Kaguri here in the present. Apparently, of course, as has been hinted and gradually revealed over time, it seems that the Professor Leskinen of 2036 deliberately brainwashed Kaguri Shina and then allowed her to go back in time, knowing full well that she would eventually track down his past self, which she most certainly did. But we have no further time to speculate on these ruminations because a siren has just occurred, and that means that things are coming to a close, and not for the better.
ゲリラ攻撃情報。当地域にゲリラ攻撃の可能性があります。屋内に避難し、テレビ、ラジオをつけてください。
In other words, World War III is descending down upon the city of fair Akihabara. This is where it all begins. I heard that announcement coming from the speakers on the street, and there are the sirens. Guerrilla attack information. One type of instantaneous national alert, J-alert, system. In case of an emergency like a large-scale disaster or armed attack, the J-alert system uses communications satellites to automatically activate all disaster warning systems in the country and warn the populace. When activated, the J-alert triggers a series of loudspeakers and sirens placed around the country. These are all several different there are several different types, such as an emergency earthquake alert, a Tokai earthquake alert, tsunami alert, eruption alert, sorry, not interruption, weather alert, ballistic missile alert, air raid alert, guerrilla and special forces attack alerts, and a terrorism alert. We are basically experiencing the two latter ones. And fortunately, the world isn't plunging into absolute nightmarish darkness at the onset of those sirens, which means that we're not experiencing the other world of Silent Hill, thank goodness. A guerrilla attack. Indeed. I could hear several helicopters in the sky above me. Black helicopters, I might add. I wonder if they're carrying the identity of Ho and Kioma with them, because they're actually going to need that identity now more than ever. Their engines were clearly more powerful than the ones in the media news choppers. I recognize the sounds from the time I spent in the wartime worldline, except that eventuality is happening in this one. Seems like the worldlines are converging after all.
ここは間もなくタイムマシンを奪い合う戦場と化すんだ。
Indeed, but it was Suzuha that first told us about that.
第三次世界大戦が始まるのか。
Indeed it is.
まさかこの町の住民も自分たちの都市の中心から世界戦争が始まるとは夢にも思っていないだろうね。
Sadly, Liskinen is right on this point. But they will learn soon enough. And then Liskinen leaned up against the wall, sat down, and stopped moving. Whether he passed out or gone into a coma from the brain damage, I didn't have time to find out. It was like the air in the city had gotten heavier. That's how it felt. A chill ran down my spine. We know this feeling all too well. I'd spent a month at war in that world line, and the same future was about to begin here on this one. Something like that couldn't happen in Japan. It was like a TV show or a movie, except it's not. But I knew instinctively that this wasn't fiction. We're right in the middle of it. There have been signs since 6 months ago. Here in Akihabara, in Tokyo, in Japan, spies and soldiers from all around the world have been working in the shadows, laying the groundwork for World War III. So I'd known that this would happen. By refusing Suzuha's request and choosing the world line where Mayuri survived, I doomed over 5 billion people to their fate. I was the one who chose this. We chose to let Kurusu Makase suffer her own fate as well in the process. It was me. This was no time to feel sorry for ourselves. I looked up and saw that Suzuha was pushing Mayuri into the time machine.
こうなったら私たちはこのまま過去へジャンプする。
You might try to stop them, Rintaro, but given the situation right now, that's actually not the worst of what's happening.
かがりのこと頼んだよ。
Yeah, about that. Suzuha had no idea that Kaguru was already dead. She leapt into the cockpit. I raced over and grabbed onto the hatch, then looked inside.
過去ってまさか1年前あの日へ行くのかこんな急に
急ってわけじゃないんだ。それにあの日へは飛ばない。
Indeed, they're not going back to the 28th. She was tapping commands into the console as she spoke.
何あの比叡は飛ばないってどういう
There's been a slight change of plans, Rintaro Okabe.
ちょっとまゆ姉さんを借りるよ。
Plans that have been in the works for quite some time now. Mayuri was already strapped into a seat, just like I was when I jumped a year ago with Suzuha.
マユリお前
Seems that this time, it's Mayuri's turn for a big adventure back in time.
あかり
I heard fierce gunfire and screams in the distance. Looks like it started. It looked like some of the spies had started fighting each other. Kaguri might have just wiped out a force from one nation, but an army from an entirely different one was still coming.
おかりこれ
Mayuri's handed me a smartphone. I took it without thinking.
電波つながらないからこれ預けるね。メール読んでマユシーの気持ちだから。
It's very important that you read that message, Rintaro.
ちょっと待てなんでお前が行くんだお前が行ったって結果は同じだ何もできないそれに今飛んだら戻ってこられない
That's true. There was only enough fuel for one jump at this
違う
stage.
のオカリンじゃダメなのこれはねマユシーの役目だから
But our window is running out.
わからない俺にはさっぱりわからない頼む降りてくれマユリお前まで因果の輪から外れたら俺は何のためにこの世界線を選んだのか
But Rintaro's worst fears are playing out right before his eyes.
オカリ
Mayuri gently rubbed my cheek. And she smiled, sadly. Looks like she's going to carry your burden for you, Rintaro. She softly pushed my shoulder. And then the doors closed. It threw me off balance and made me let go of the hatch. Then the hatch closed.
マユリ待て
It was too late. By the time I grabbed back on, the hatch was shielded shut. The door control was biometric. Only Suzuha could open it now. The time machine started to roar. A pale light began to gather around it. I'd seen this before on the Alpha World line, and conveniently enough on the Beta World line as well.
マユリ
But Mayuri and Suzuha are going to go back into the past. Just then, a group of armed men kicked open the door and swarmed onto the roof. They were highly trained military operatives. More party members, it seems. And then an attack helicopter descended from the skies. I wonder if it's a Hind D. Probably not, but you all know the reference. And that has chain gun and missiles. The soldiers started to shoot at it, but the helicopter seemed to ignore them as it slowly hovered in place. I realized the powerful rocket launchers on either side of its body were aimed at me. No, at the time machine. Best to let them go, Rintaro. It couldn't be.
やめろ
But my worst fears were realized. Oh no. The helicopter fired its rockets. They headed straight for the time machine. And Suzuha and Mayuri are inside. It was still there, shrouded in light. The second I yelled, a powerful blast blew me back. And then it seems we lost consciousness, but only for a moment. The next thing I knew, I was crawling on the ground, and ashes blowing across my view. I saw that some of the soldiers had already joined the mountain of corpses on the ground, and some of them were still shooting at the helicopter. But it seems that our worst fears have finally been realized. I stood up as fast as I could. My whole body felt like it was on fire. My skin was burnt in places. My clothes had been blasted off. No, my own problems didn't matter. What about the time machine? I looked up to where it had been just a moment ago. If it had jumped in time, it should have been able to avoid the rockets. But once again, worldline convergence is not kind. It seems that despite our best efforts, we only delayed the inevitable. And once again, Rintaro's greatest nightmare, apart from the murder of Kurisu Makase, has played out once again, for the first time on the Beta world line. There were scraps of metal everywhere. I could tell that they belonged to the time machine. Had I not made it in time,
Suzuha, Mayuri.
I looked around in the cloud of smoke.
Na, Mayuri. どこだ? Mayuri! Suzuha! 返事をしてくれ!
I don't think they're going to answer you, Rintaro. There were bodies everywhere, but I couldn't see Mayuri or Suzuha. I couldn't even tell if they were alive or dead. There were no bodies. They'd simply vanished. After that, things went far beyond my power to control. Brutal battles took place on the ground and the sky of Akihabara. I'd seen footage of war in the Middle East on the news. Those same scenes were playing out in Akihabara. I managed to slip through the chaos of the battle and barely escaped the radio building with my life. I had no choice but to leave Kaguri's body. I took the long way back to the lab so that no one would find me. By the time I arrived, the sun had set and the night sky was illuminated with explosions and tracer rounds. The whole of Akihabara was like somebody had poked a beehive, or a nest of hornets. The lights were out at the lab, but inside, I found Daru, Maho and Ferris staring at the TV and computer monitor.
オカリン!
岡部さん、よく無事で。って ひどい怪我してる。
Our pain is infinitesimal. Our physical wounds, at any rate. But we have more pressing concerns.
大丈夫なの？
戦闘に巻き込まれたん？
急いで手当てしないと。
I didn't have the energy to answer them. I looked towards the footage on the TV screen. The reporter was wearing a bulletproof vest and hard hat. He was screaming at the top of his lungs, trying to drown out the reporters from the other stations.
まるで戦争です。秋葉原駅前や中央通りはすでに閉鎖されて、米軍と自衛隊のヘリや装甲車が。
There is no like about this. It is a war zone.
今またものすごい発砲音が聞こえました。
Can't tell if you people are brave or incredibly foolish.
ここは本当に日本なのでしょうか。まるで内戦中の国の取材をしているようです。
That's exactly what you people are reporting on
政
right
府の発
now.
表ではテロということですが、こんな。
It's both. It's terrorism by the world's most premier special forces. Taxpayers' money at work. And then a stray shot from an anti-material rifle fired by a special forces team from some country or other struck the news van's engine and blew it up.
爆発した。爆発が起きました。
I applaud your journalistic integrity, good sir, but that alone will not save you, nor the bulletproof vest and hard hat that you're wearing.
死にたいのか。今すぐ逃げろ。もう戦争なんだ。本当に死ぬぞ。
An SDF soldier forced his way onto the screen and yelled at the media to run
戦
away.
争ってどことですか。
A war with the entire worldline itself.
知るか。
Just after that, I heard another explosion and the video was cut off. Did they take a direct hit? Everyone fell silent.
ここも危ないわね。
The lab is not safe. Akihabara is not safe. Tokyo and Japan are not
お
safe.
家には帰れない。
I don't think we can ever go home again,
ネット
Varys.
の情報も大混乱中なんだよ。
And we still haven't gotten around to telling them the worst of it.
なあオカリン、セズハは？あとマヨシは見つかったん？
I honestly cannot answer them that, but we'll have to.
鈴葉とマユリは鈴葉とマユリは過去へ飛んだのか死んだのかどっちかな。
Well, in human terms, that means that they have we have a 50-50 chance, but the odds are not in our favor. But when we return, adventurers, regardless of whether they've made it or not, we are still going to have to do something about our present situation, as World War III ravages in the heart of Akihabara. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.